One of the most desired women in the world was seduced not by a flawless pickup line, a grand romantic gesture, or a display of high status. She was seduced by a guy who accidentally tried to put her in the friend zone and offered to set her up with his single friends. When music producer Benny Blanco walked into a recording studio with Selena Gomez, he didn't try to impress her. He didn't try to be cool. He just talked about his own dating life and casually invited her to a dinner party to meet his other single guy friends. And that complete lack of a romantic agenda bypassed every single defense mechanism she had built over 5 years of being single. Welcome to Creator Brain Bites. We break down the best ideas from the top creators on YouTube, so you don't have to. We do the work, you get the brains. We analyze the 10 most viewed episodes of On Purpose with Jay Shetty focused on sex and seduction. We extracted the data from neuroscientists, clinical psychologists, and the world's top relationship therapists. And what we found completely shatters the conventional dating advice you have been fed. You probably made a dozen decisions today about your romantic life. You swiped left, you waited an hour to text someone back so you wouldn't look desperate, or you bit your tongue to avoid an argument with your partner. Most of those decisions were driven by a fundamental misunderstanding of how human attraction actually works. Today, you are getting exactly 3 counterintuitive frameworks that decode the biological, psychological, and strategic realities of modern courtship. Insight number 1, the anti-seduction strategy. Selena Gomez had been single for 5 years. As a global superstar, she was entirely used to people approaching her with weird motives, hidden agendas, and carefully rehearsed charm. Her walls were incredibly high. So when Benny Blanco sat down in that studio and offered to introduce her to his friends, it triggered something she hadn't felt in a long time. Immediate safety. He wasn't blowing smoke. He wasn't trying to extract anything from her. He was just honest about where he was at in life. And that authentic disinterest in playing the game became the ultimate seduction technique. Selena ended up asking him out on their first official date, and she was the first one to say, "I love you." Here is the insight. Authentic disinterest in performing for someone is the fastest way to bypass their romantic defense mechanisms. When people try too hard to be impressive, macho, or cool, they instantly trigger the other person's natural defenses. We are biologically wired to detect when someone is putting on a performance to get something from us. By approaching an interaction with genuine transparency and zero romantic pressure, you create a psychological safe harbor. And safety is the fertile ground where real, sustainable attraction actually takes root. And this isn't just one celebrity's experience. Dating experts and psychologists see this pattern constantly. Matthew Hussey, who has spent 15 years coaching people on attraction, points out that early dating is plagued by a narcissistic streak. People put on the greatest performance of their lives to elicit a specific emotional reaction. Jay Shetty himself admitted that in his teens, he used special moves to seduce women. He would be the perfect gentleman, buy gifts, and remember every detail. Not out of genuine connection, but because he was addicted to the validation of making someone fall in love with him. Once they did, he would lose interest. This performative seduction is exactly what high-value people are guarding against. Grammy-winning artist Cardi B noted this exact dynamic when discussing what actually works in romance. She explained that anyone with money can buy a generic luxury item like a Birkin bag. That isn't seduction, that's a transaction. True seduction happened when a partner rented out an old castle in Versailles simply because they had actively listened to her casually mention an obsession with kings and queens. It wasn't about the money, it was about the fact that the partner had studied her passing comments. They removed the generic romantic performance and replaced it with highly specific, safe attention. Hussey offers a physical framework for this called the energy you're willing to lose. He compares early dating to walking into a casino in Las Vegas. You don't walk in and bet your life savings. You decide you are going to play with a $10 bill that you are perfectly happy to lose. Instead of playing the toxic game of who can care less, you offer a small, non-threatening amount of warm, playful energy to a date. If they don't return it, you walk away unbothered. You filter out the game players and wake up the people who are genuinely looking for connection. The takeaway: stop trying to be cool and start trying to be safe. The ultimate seduction technique is removing your hidden agenda. But what happens when you drop the agenda, you go on the date, and you feel an overwhelming, undeniable spark? That brings us to a massive biological trap. Insight number 2, the biological illusion of chemistry. Picture the modern dater. You have been on 7 dates in the last 2 months. You are feeling the crushing pressure of a timeline, the societal ticking clock telling you that you should have found someone by now. You are living in the stress of scarcity, swiping through an endless ocean of disappointment. Then you finally sit down across from someone and it hits you. The butterflies, the racing heart. You are crazy nervous. You analyze every word they say. You feel an intense, undeniable chemistry, and you immediately convince yourself that this person might be the one. Here is the harsh biological reality. You cannot attract love or evaluate a partner when your nervous system is trapped in a state of stress and survival. What you are calling chemistry is often just a biological stress response. Relationship coach Stephan Labossiere points out that the feeling of butterflies and obsessive nervousness is simply your brain experiencing dopamine, the reward chemical, and cortisol, the stress chemical, at the exact same time. You aren't feeling a mystical romantic destiny. You are feeling the literal neurochemistry of anxiety. Dr. Joe Dispenza takes this a step further, revealing that the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is stress. When you are stressed about your dating timeline, your body enters a primitive survival mechanism. It forces you to anticipate worst-case scenarios. In this state of arousal, your biological priority is self-protection, not vulnerability. Therefore, approaching a date with anxiety or desperation biologically prevents you from opening your heart. You cannot fall in love while your body thinks it is fighting for its life. And this illusion of chemistry isn't just chemical, it is deeply psychological. World-renowned clinical psychologist Dr. Orna Guralnik explains that when you feel a terrible, inexplicable gut attraction to someone, especially someone who seems logically wrong for you, it is because your psyche recognizes a familiar trauma. We are magnetically attracted to people who possess the exact traits we need to trigger and replay our unresolved childhood wounds. That intense urge to fix a partner is actually a disguised attempt to heal yourself. This is exactly why toxic seduction works so well. Clinical psychologist Dr. Ramani notes that manipulative people use a tactic called love bombing to hijack this biological response. They flood you with intense early attention, mirroring your desires and making you feel incredibly seen. But this isn't romance. It is an information-gathering mission. They are extracting your vulnerabilities to use as leverage later. They create a trauma bond by shifting from intense affection to cold dismissal, keeping your cortisol and dopamine spiking wildly. You become addicted to the chemical high of the chase, confusing a trauma response with passionate love. This is why the safe choice in dating often feels boring. When you meet someone who is actually healthy, your cortisol doesn't spike. There is no stress. And because you have been conditioned to believe that anxiety equals chemistry, you assume there is no spark, and you walk away from a great life partner. The takeaway: don't let the biological high of chemistry stop you from asking the hard questions that reveal true compatibility. So you have bypassed the performative games, you have regulated your nervous system to avoid toxic chemistry, and you have built a healthy, stable relationship. But how do you keep the sexual tension from dying 5 years down the line? Insight number 3, the mechanics of sustaining desire. Jay Shetty and his wife decided to take a trip to Hawaii. Instead of just lounging on the beach, they signed up for surfing lessons and tackled a Go Ape high ropes course. They were both complete novices. They fell off the boards, they looked foolish, and they stepped entirely out of their comfort zones. This wasn't just a fun vacation itinerary. It was a calculated, psychological injection of risk into their marriage. Here is the insight. To keep desire and sexual attraction alive in a long-term relationship, you must actively introduce risk, mystery, and novelty. Psychotherapist Esther Perel explains that society has sold us a conflicting narrative. We want a partner who provides absolute safety, predictability, and comfort. But we also want that same partner to provide wild, unpredictable sexual passion. The problem is that comfort breeds friendship, but risk breeds desire. Doing comfortable things you both enjoy is fantastic for stability, but excitement, aliveness, and romantic desire require stepping into the unknown together. When you are both novices at something, it shatters the illusion that you know everything about your partner. It introduces a slight edge of otherness that forces you to see them with fresh eyes. This need for mystery and power dynamics is hardwired into our neurobiology. Brain surgeon and neuroscientist Dr. Rahul Jandial studies the science of dreams, and his findings on human sexuality are staggering. He notes that 80 to 90% of erotic dreams involve infidelity. People frequently have highly vivid sexual dreams about strangers, exes, or even repellent bosses, regardless of how happy they are in their waking relationships. Why? Because subconscious sexual desire is not fueled by physical routines. It is fueled entirely by the brain's imagination network. The dreaming brain uses sex as a metaphor to process power dynamics, dominance, submission, and the unknown. Your brain literally craves the tension of a power struggle. When a relationship becomes too safe, too predictable, and too devoid of risk, the imagination network shuts down and the bedroom dies. This is why withholding affection to maintain power in a relationship is so destructive. Dr. Guralnik points out that couples often treat vulnerability as a zero-sum game. They withhold compliments or act stingy with their desire because they are afraid their partner will get a big head or gain the upper hand. But seduction requires the exact opposite. It requires what she calls the gaze of adoration. When you look at your partner with genuine awe and invite their best self to emerge, you create an atmosphere where desire can thrive. You cannot engineer passion through control. You can only invite it through shared vulnerability and mutual risk. The takeaway: comfort breeds friendship, but risk breeds desire. If you want to feel a spark again, stop doing what you're good at and become novices together. The neuroscientists, the clinical psychologists, and the relationship therapists are all pointing to the exact same paradoxical truth from completely different angles. True seduction and lasting sexual desire do not come from memorizing pickup lines, playing hard to get, or finding a flawless soulmate on a dating app. They come from the radical vulnerability of dropping your agenda, regulating your own biological stress, and having the courage to step into the unknown with another human being. And maybe that's what makes the Blanco and Selena Gomez moment so revealing. He didn't walk into that studio with a strategy. He didn't have a playbook. He just showed up as himself with zero agenda and accidentally created the safest space she had felt in 5 years. That one moment captures everything the neuroscientists, the psychologists, and the therapists spent hours explaining. The most powerful seduction technique in the world is simply being a person someone doesn't have to perform around. That's the bite. New breakdowns drop every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if there's a creator, channel, or episode you think we should analyze next, drop it in the comments. If one of these 3 ideas changed how you see something, tell me which one in the comments. See you in the next bite.